Another exciting time on DRTV. The program is Business Angle, and I'm Ogali Mafuru. Thank you for joining us on the program. And so we begin the program with a look at the stock market report. The Nigerian equity market on Tuesday sustained positive outlook as the overall performance measures NLE All Share Index and market capitalization rose further by 1.20%. However, the market breadth closed negative with 32 gainers against 19 decliners. Consequently, all the All Share Index gained 495.98 basis points or 1.20%, close at 41,584.94 index points against 41,088.96 recorded the previous day, while the market capitalization of equities appreciated by 259 billion naira to close at 21.75 trillion naira from 21.49 trillion naira as market sentiment remained on the green zone. Meanwhile, a turnover of 468.04 million shares exchanged in 5,995 deals was recorded in the day's trading. The insurance subsector was the most active, measured by volume turnover, with 148.69 million shares exchanged by investors in 662 deals. Volume in the subsector was largely driven by activities in the shares of AXA Massad Assurance PLC and Sovereign Trust Insurance PLC. And a look at the Naira exchange rate. The exchange rate between the Naira and dollar depreciated, closing at 394 Naira per dollar at the NAFEX window on January 25, 2021. The exchange rate between the Naira and the dollar depreciated, closing at 394.50. That's 50 kobo per dollar at the NAFEX window where the forex is traded officially. Forex turnover, however, dropped further by about 10.2% as pressure on the foreign exchange market continues. The Central Bank of Nigeria has moved to create more liquidity in the foreign exchange market as they insisted that deposit money banks and international money transfer operators must pay diaspora remittances to beneficiaries in dollars as against the initial practice of paying in naira. And this will also help to create more stability and transparency in the forex market. Also, the exchange rate at the black market, where foreigns traded unofficially, remained stable at 474 naira per dollar. The exchange rate at the parlor market closed at the same rate on the previous day of January 22nd, 2021. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has retained the monetary policy rate at 11.5%. The CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele disclosed this after the committee's two-day meeting in Abuja on Tuesday. It also retained the cash reserve ratio and liquidity ratio at 27.5% and 30% respectively. These rates are the rates the MPC maintained at its last meeting in November 2020. Meanwhile, a financial expert, Mr. Okechukwu Unegbu, has advised the committee to address rising inflationary rates. Negbu noted that all the relevant rates remain stable and must be maintained. He advised that reserve requirement and liquidity ratio must be adjusted to stabilize the economy. The MPC is the highest policy committee of the CBN with the mandate to review economic and financial conditions in the economy and determine the appropriate stance of policy in the short and medium term. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has said that the removal by the United States of immigrant visa ban placed on Nigerians will improve diaspora remittances flow to Nigeria. The president LCCI, Mrs. Toki Maboguje, said this on Tuesday during the Chamber's quarterly press briefing on the state of the economy. The Chamber congratulated Mr. Joe Biden on his resumption of office as the 46th elected president of the U.S. He says he believes that the Biden administration will usher in a new dispensation for the global economy from trade, investment, foreign policy, international cooperation, environmental protection, and security. He commended the Biden administration for lifting the immigrant visa ban placed on Nigerians, adding that the reversal is possible for the Nigerian economy as it creates an avenue for many Nigerians to explore the diverse business, education, and employment opportunities in the U.S. She said the gesture is expected to boost U.S. trade relations, as it would also positively impact on the diaspora remittances inflow to the Nigerian economy. The federal government is planning to spend a total of 766 billion naira for vacation against coronavirus in 2021 and 2022. The government is seeking the approval of 367.502 billion naira through a supplementary budget to finance the COVID-19 vaccination program for 2021, while the 399.1 billion naira will be spent in 2022 for the same purpose. But let's take a quick look at some of these issues and see what all of this means to us. But to discuss these issues with me is Sonia Adudu.
Good morning.
We have you again here on the program.
Thank you very much.
The conversation is about the vaccination. The FG, federal government, is planning to spend a sum of 766 billion naira on vaccination. So I know you've been doing a lot of study on that too. Let's hear what you have.
Yeah, it's COVID-19 is in the second wave as it stands now. So what the government is looking at is that we have a safe place to actually do our businesses and run our organizations. And the General Director of National Primary Healthcare Development Agency says that these vaccines are to, first of all, get to the rural areas of the country where the pandemic is mostly affected. So these vaccines are to get to the rural areas of the country, and while the modalities of these vaccines are still being screened, because most Nigerians now are still quite skeptical of the vaccination. So screening is still ongoing, but right now we have these supplies made to rural areas. And he also said that the vaccines will also be distributed to rural areas, as we said, and then we are going to have a balanced distribution. It's going to be like the rural areas get these doses first, and then the urban areas get these doses first. So I think it's actually a good idea and a good step. It's a step up for us as Nigerians. So I think what we should do, or what the government should do, is carefully screen these vaccinations so that we don't have any iota of doubt about it.
Have you thought about the country looking towards producing their own vaccines?
Yes, I think the Vice President also said something about that we are looking into making our local vaccinations. But come to think of it, are we well enough? Do we have that infrastructure quite available for that? So I think we should, what we should do is get to carefully examine these vaccinations and see if is Nigeria ready to make their own local productions. Yes.
I think the Minister of Health spoke about Nigeria looking towards making their own vaccines, and I think part of these monies that's been earmarked for these projects should also be looked towards encouraging local producers in making our own vaccines, because when we talk about getting vaccines from other countries, they still have their own citizens to look out for. So that means we will not have enough to go around. We have overwhelming population, about 200 million Nigerians that needs to be vaccinated. So that means that we as a country should look towards making our own vaccines, so every other person in Nigeria can have access to the vaccine. So let's look at these U.S. travel ban reversal. President Donald Trump has left, and we now have President Joe Biden, and part of his new administration policies, he had to reverse the travel ban that was put by Donald Trump, I think in April 2020. Alongside other countries of the world. But we did a report on that. I would like us to see that before we speak further about the restriction ban that has been lifted. All right, while we await that report to be done, let's talk a bit about the travel restriction in the U.S. It means that we can, as Nigerians, we can only go on tour to the US on tourist visit to the US, but any other thing that would eventually lead to permanent residence was actually prohibited. And we're looking at fostering diplomatic ties between the US and Nigeria, and many other African countries are also optimistic about what this new dispensation in the United States under Joe Biden will bring in terms of trade relationship, diplomatic relationship, foreign, to enhance foreign relationship among countries. So as Nigeria, do you really think that this is a good sign for us?
Yeah, I think it's a good sign looking at the areas this ban has been lifted, how it's going to affect us. Diaspora remittances, it's very, very important because those of Nigerians out there who has businesses abroad, they give us some revenue for the country. It's like helping the country improve in every other sectors of the economy. So I think if we have more Nigerians out there abroad, if we have more Nigerians there, it will help us.
Okay.
Because the Nigerians over there will be remitting a particular amount of money from their businesses or whatever they do abroad, and it's actually improving the economy of the country.
Okay.
Yes.
The restriction was not just for Nigeria alone. It
Yes,
involves
other
countries. I think the lifting of the ban was also for other Islamic countries that were
Yes, it
slammed
was.
with the travel restrictions. And now we're looking at another, relationship. I know that President Donald Trump had a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, and at some point we thought that was looking good for the country's diplomatic relationship with the United States. But at some point, the United States government under Donald Trump had to now review its stance, in terms of relationship, and which was evident in the restrictions that was placed on Nigeria. And we are looking towards a reversal. There's already a reversal, diplomatic lifting of travel bans on Nigeria. So where do you think that this will do for the economy of the country, Nigeria, in terms of fostering trade and technological exchange? Where do you think this takes us to?
Yeah, I think the director of the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce has said that this Biden administration will usher in a new dispensation for the global economy, for trade, investment, foreign policy, and international cooperation, and also environmental protection and security. So if we were looking at this at a positive side, I think we actually need this cooperation. We actually need that this ban is actually lifted from Nigerians, so that we also can enjoy security.
Okay.
We also can enjoy new business ideas. We also can enjoy environmental stability. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move further. There are other issues here that we enumerated. The Central Bank of Nigeria had its first monetary policy meeting on the 26th and 25th and on the 26th of January. And we know that the MPC is the major, organization or institution that is saddled with the responsibility of making policies that would enhance the nation's economy, and is under the Central Bank of Nigeria. We did a report on that MPC monetary meeting. I would like us to see that before we discuss further about it.
Monetary policy involves the measures through which the central bank manages the supply of money in order to stabilize prices. Though the primary objective of monetary policy is the attainment of a stable inflation, the central bank also has the added mandate to promote economic growth and employment. The primary mandate of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, is promotion of price stability as estrenched in the Section 2A of the CBN Act 2007. Price stability is a major monetary policy objective that enhances predictability of domestic prices, a key requirement for sound consumer decisions. The CBN Act 1958 and its subsequent amendments, which established the bank, also stipulates the bank's monetary policy objectives. According to the Act, the principal objectives of the bank shall be to ensure monetary and price stability, maintain external reserves to safeguard the international value of the legal tender currency, issue legal tender currency in Nigeria, promote a sound financial system in Nigeria, and act as a banker and provide economic and financial advice to the federal government. Consequently, the Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) held its first statutory meeting for the year 2021 on the 25th and 26th January on the backdrop of dampened optimism for improvement in the global output recovery associated with the resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic and mild success with vaccinations across several countries. On the domestic front, recovery is expected to progress reasonably following the mild contraction recorded during the third quarter of 2020, and with fourth quarter output growth figures expected to show further improvement. The committee reviewed the development in the global and domestic economic and financial environments in 2020 and the outlook for 2021, as well as the risks to this outlook. Speaking on domestic economic development, the MPC stated that real gross domestic product (GDP), according to the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS), contracted by 3.62% in the third quarter of 2020 compared with 6.10% in the second quarter of 2020 and a growth of 2.28% in the corresponding period of 2019. The real GDP contraction in the third quarter of 2020 was largely driven by the decline of 13.89% in the oil sector from 6.63% in the second quarter of 2020. The non-oil sector also contracted by 2.51% in the third quarter of 2020 compared with 6.05% in the second quarter of 2020. The weak performance observed in both the oil and non-oil sector was largely attributed to the lag effects of the lockdown, persisting weak global demand for crude oil, and security challenges across the country. The committee expressed concern on the persisting uptick in inflationary pressure on the 60th consecutive month, with headline year-on-year inflation moving further to 15.75% in December 2020 from 14.89% in November 2020. This rise was attributed to the increase in both food and core components of inflation, which rose to 19.56% and 11.37% in December 2020, respectively, from 18.30% and 11.01% in November 2020. This continued upsurge in food inflation was attributed to the logistical bottlenecks spurred by the increase in security challenges in many parts of the country, which disrupted food production and supply to the market. Other products driving the core inflation include recent deregulation of the downstream sector of the oil industry, which led to hikes in the price of premium motor spirits and the upward adjustment in electricity tariff. In the light of the ongoing synchronized efforts by the Monetary Fiscal Authority to mitigate the impact of COVID-19, the bank has committed substantial amount of money towards this objective. Indeed, a total disbursement as at January 2021 amounted to 2.0 trillion naira. COVID-19 targeted credit facilities meant for household and small businesses, wherein the bank disbursed 192.64 billion naira to 426,016 beneficiaries. It also disbursed 106.96 billion naira to 27,956. The committee called on the government to take advantage on the African Continental Free Trade Area, which could boost domestic production and generate sizable revenue for government, as well as improve domestic productivity and competitiveness. In summary, the MPC voted to retain the MPR at 11.5%, retain the asymmetric corridor of 100/700 basis points around, and retain the CCR at 27.5% and retain the liquidity ratio at 30%.
There where we learned about the MPC meeting that was held on the 25th and 26th of January. So you heard all that. Where do you think this is taking us to? Some of the issues raised.
I think it will help restabilize the economy.
Okay.
Looking at COVID-19, the NSAS, and all those issues we've been having for, I think, last year, early or late 2019 down to 2020. So I think it will help revitalize the economy.
Yeah, the central bank also enumerated some of the interventions that it has, taken in a bid to recover or revive the economy, and I think that's a step in the right direction. We're looking towards a more fruitful 2021 as all of these modalities are being put in place. So let's go back to our earlier conversation where we talked about the travel ban restrictions that have been lifted by the President of the United States, Joe Biden. We told you about a report that we did in that respect. Let's see that before we continue.
The United States established diplomatic relations with Nigeria in 1960, following Nigeria's independence from the United Kingdom. In April 2018, President Trump hosted President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria at the White House to discuss efforts to deepen mutually beneficial relationship. In February 21, 2021, President Trump subjected Nigeria, among other 5 African countries, to visa restrictions. Although citizens are still able to visit the U.S. as tourists, they are prohibited from obtaining any visa that could eventually lead to permanent residence. With the coming of a new president in the United States of America, many African leaders believe that the Biden presidency could bring an improved, even stronger bilateral relations to the continent. President Joe Biden reversed the travel restrictions in fulfillment of his campaign promises. The country hopes that this will signal a favorable diplomatic ties between Washington and Abuja and will eventually facilitate Nigeria's former finance minister to take on the job at the World Trade Organization.
I'd like to get a final one from you, Sonia Dudu.
Okay, I think back to what Joe Biden administration is doing in the country and what the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry has told us, that this ban being lifted would actually reverse this economic meltdown that we are having, and to give us opportunity to explore diverse business opportunities, and also for education. It's very important for most of our youth and children who have intentions to study abroad, so it's actually a good catch for us.
Okay, let's look forward to a favorable one from that restrictions that have been lifted. Well, that's it on the program Business Angle. Do well to join us for another interesting time on the program next week, same time. I'm Ogade Maferen. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Bye for now.
Every day, we keep working to give you the widest possible